Hi, my name is William Woodward, and this is my 1990 Volkswagen Vanagon named Ruby. Welcome to the tour. Welcome to the kitchen slash living room slash hangout area. Vanagons were made into kind of two main different categories. The Vanagon itself, which was made by Volkswagen, and then they would give these vans to this company Westfalia, and that's who made this into the pop top with a kitchen and fold down into bed system. When I bought Ruby, she was a tin top Vanagon, which means there's no pop. It was a passenger van. It just had 2 rows of seats. And from there, I pulled the seats out, built a very basic setup in there, like a platform bed. And I had a little portable camp stove and, lived that way for a few years. But about 2 years ago now, I gutted everything and put this great high top on, which allows me to stand all the way up. And in doing so, I also then had room to make the build a little bit more intricate and a little bit more livable, functional. Obviously, one of the main things about having a very functional build is having a functional kitchen. So this kitchen here is by Dometic. It comes with a sink and a 2-burner stove combo. It's all nice and contained, so any mess you make, you kind of right into the sink. Sizing wise, though, I had to make it kind of small because Vanagons are shorter length than some other vans, and in order to get a full length bed, which for me as a tall human was pretty important. So the width of the kitchen was determined by the length of bed that I wanted to be able to sleep in. To give myself a little more cutting room, I added this nice little fold up cutting board, and everything kind of lives right here that I need for my day-to-day coffee, food, preparation type of living. Fold up sink with a little water pump. The way that this is laid out is over in this section lives the water tank and all of the battery system for my solar setup. Then over on this side is storage where I keep pots and pans, extra food, dry stuff, all that jazz. And I tried to make these as big as possible to be able to keep as much food as possible, all kind of nice and self-contained. The sink and stove, as you can imagine, drop down into this cabinet a little bit, and I had this weird little extra space. And I was like, well, I don't want to waste the space because there's not a ton of extra. So I made this tiny little shelf that turned into my silverware drawer. Under here houses garbage and recycling. Moving back from there, we've got power from the inverter, little ditty storage. I think these little leather storage containers are great for keeping things that you don't want to fly off your shelves, but also don't need to be so organized. And when we did the high top, we were able to put in these upper shelves, which has made my organized brain very happy because I can have a little space for all of my accessories of cooking and morning preparation. I've got my little coffee stand here, teas, basic cooking stuff. I have always wanted one of these magnet knife things, and being able to throw the knife up there when I'm in the middle of cook prep is super convenient. And honestly, no matter what roads I've gone down, those knives have never come off the magnet, which is, I don't know, good luck. This is a cool little random feature that I enjoy that wasn't part of the stock setup. So making food, don't know where to put my lid. It's a little lid organizer that you just stick on the glass panel of the stove, which is great. And it also fits this cutting board that I made. So again, trying to get more countertop space in a small kitchen, I made this round cutting board to fit just inside the sink so that then I can use that as surface area. But that also fits up here if I need to have the sink and working on everything. prior to living in a van, I was in an apartment in Portland, and before that I was in a place in Illinois, and then before that I was in Alabama. So I had moved around a decent amount. I kind of knew the things that were important to me, and I also knew the things that were just nice to haves and not necessarily need to haves. So the transition into the van was more about what do I want to be doing every day, and focusing on making sure that the things that I brought with me are the things that motivated me to do those things. So a big thing for me was I was exploring my interest in photography, and I wanted to see what it would take to make a career out of taking photos for a living. The other couple of things that were coming to me at the time was skiing and climbing. So I basically said, as long as I have the gear to do those activities safely and in the ways and places that I want to do them, then that's kind of enough stuff. So I didn't really focus too much on trying to make Ruby 1.0 into this crazy designed and, feature-packed vehicle. I said simpler is better. Get out there and figure out what you like. Figure out if this is something that you really want to do or a lifestyle that you really want to live, and then learn from those experiences and take that into what you want Ruby to be in the future. And I definitely didn't think that she would be a 7-year investment in my future, but at the time that was okay. It was figure out how to do this and how to do it well, or well for me, and then go from there. Next in the kitchen area is the fridge, powered by the house battery, solar, and this little container, actually don't remember where I got this. I think it was a garage sale or thrift store or something, and it was something else for a while and it fit differently, and then I had to cut it down. But I really liked the old nails and like the old vintage wood, so I just like trimmed some of the side panels and made it work. But it's been with me for, I think, probably 6 years. And now it's just my cool little cup storage. Ruby did not come with a swivel seat. I pulled a swivel off of an old van and welded it into the base plate so that I could have the swivel, because that really just opens up the space so much. And it's really nice for when people are hanging out. You can use this as a little bit of extra seating. Yeah, just gotta climb over everything. So then somebody can be sitting here. There's a couple friends sitting there. Like I said, the swivel just really opens up the space a lot versus when there's the back of a seat right here. Everything in Vanagons is a little bit climb over-y to get around, but it's just the way it goes. From the command center up here, you've got all of your standard driving controls: steering wheel, shifter. This is an automatic. It's weird for some people to think that vans this old came in an automatic, but ta-da! This is one of my favorite things of Ruby. My dad and I built this when I first moved into this van, and it's one of those things where I didn't realize at the time that we built it how useful it was. We actually built it as my original battery box. My house battery lived right here, and this box extended back. It became one of those integral things that is also very quintessentially Ruby. When I got this safe from my friend Dave at Vanagon Life, I knew that I needed to keep this part, so we just cut it in half and finish the back end. But this safe is great. It's where I keep all my hard drives and cameras and all that jazz. And it also offered me 2 more cup holders. I can't tell you the number of times that having 4 cup holders in a single person van is extremely important. The other cool thing about this is it's got a little more storage in there. I keep a little fire extinguisher and change and all that good stuff. I found these 2 little sunglass stashers in a van that my friend and I bought and then resold, and I stole those because I'm perpetually needing to wear sunglasses. My eyes are super sensitive to light, so I'm like, I need to have 2 pairs of sunglasses on hand at all times, just in case one's not there, that I have another pair. Replace the sound system, just a really basic Bluetooth stereo. Put new speakers in the doors. When I bought the van, it had something that was hanging here, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to keep adding to that. Kind of started adding some little reminders of places that I've been and things that have happened. Beads that I brought back from Nepal and some more shells. And my friend cut a little chunk of his horse's tail hair off, so I braided that and hung it up. Random little things. The first fly that I ever caught a fish on a fly rod on. Some prayer flags, obviously. You live in a van, you gotta have prayer flags, but I went to Nepal and had an amazing experience, so that was something that's just a nice little reminder for me. When I bought Ruby, she had one feather, and that came with it from the guy that I bought it from, who I'm still friends with. And since then, I've just kind of started collecting feathers. Whenever I see a cool new color, this one just came into my life the other day. It's got like a cool blue sheen on the underside and green on the top, which is, I don't know what bird that is, but I want to know. There's also an orange feather that I always find when I go climb at Smith Rock. So I've got a few of those. Sometimes they blow out the window, so they come to me and then they leave. A few other things, a lucky horseshoe, my little dancing hula girl. It's great to tell you how bumpy the roads are. If she's going like that, you know you're having a good time. So there's as you can see, more storage up here, more shelf for all my little spices and such. And then up above here, I've got, again, more storage. Ruby's, the name of Ruby's game is try and fit as much stuff as I can. Not as much stuff as I can, all the stuff that I need, organized and out of the way, because I don't like to have too much stuff cluttered around. So creating these little storage bins that can be closed and shut off has been kind of a nice addition to the new build. This wasn't here, obviously, when the hightop wasn't here. This is all new storage. All these shelves are new storage. So all that stuff lived in here before, but didn't have as nice of a put away place. I started collecting pins years ago, and a lot of these are ones that my friends have made or things that I found along the way during travels, and little mementos of history. The ceiling used to be right about here. If I sat up straight, my head could touch the inside of the ceiling. And then when we cut the top off, installed this high top, all of a sudden I was able to stand up straight inside a Volkswagen, which is amazing. I'm 6'4", so having full standing room is something that's unique not only to this van, but unique to a lot of vans. I've stood in my fair share of vans over the years, and more often than not, I'm touching my head on the ceiling. So having this much actual standing room in a van is amazing. It makes, your standard of living a lot nicer, I think. My career, I shouldn't put that in quotations anymore. I do this for a living. My career now is I do photography, commercial photography for outdoor companies. So that means that I'm spending time climbing, skiing, backpacking. I've done some sailing photography, river rafting, ocean kayaking. It's kind of crazy the amount of activities that exist in the outdoor world, and then all of the stuff that is used to support them. And you can go obviously super minimal and go for a hike in your tennis shoes, a pair of shorts, and a t-shirt, or you can go for a 2,000-mile hike on the PCT and have all of this technical gear to get you there. So I do photography for all the brands that make gear to help people stay outside for longer and enjoy their time outside more. And my job is to bring to life the kind of lifestyle that exists around being outside, which allows me to be outside a lot, which was my intention of moving into a van in the first place, is spend less time inside, more time in the out of doors. Well, moving into the back half of the van. So my main intention with building Ruby in the way that I did was to not only create a space that was useful for me to live in, but also a space that I could invite people into. When it was a tin top, it had a permanently mounted bed that came out to here. So the living space was either you were on the bed or you're kind of in this tiny little nook right towards the front of the van. It wasn't really all that conducive to having people over, so to speak. So the big part of this design was, how do I create a space that is not only functional for me to live, sleep, do my thing, but also be able to have a space that people could come and hang out. I wanted to have big bench seats. I wanted to have place for lots of people to sit around the van. So over in the swivel seat on the fridge. There's another little bench next to the fridge. There's this corner seat. There's arguably 2 or 3, depending on how wide your friends are, to sit next to you. Also, the bed converts up into this bench mode, which we call the loft seating. So, you can have a couple more people up here, which I have done. It's great. 2 people up here, 3 or 4 people there, 2 people on top of the fridge, a person in the swivel seat, a person in the driver's seat. They're a little bit left out, but they don't feel bad about it because we're all having a good time. This has got my USB power lights. So it's got a light for the kitchen on a dimmer switch, a light for the ceiling on a dimmer switch. One thing that's, in my opinion, a must-have for a van in the summertime is some type of ceiling fan. Some people use ACs. I'm fine with just a fan, but being able to pull air through the van to cool things off is a pretty critical piece of the puzzle. And then just your little standard fan. If it's really hot, you have some blowing air. I have a large collection of hats. Right now you can only see 2 of them because I put the rest of them away. I was a little embarrassed by how big this stack was getting, but this is where I keep my hats. And then again, these shelves going all the way back provide some nice storage for odds and ends that are kind of daily use type of things or more regular use type of things. A cowboy hat, that's a daily use. Put some new speakers in the back. Again, it's just nice to be able to have a little bit more nice sound. I use storage boxes for everything. So there's my little bookshelf here, another little wicker basket that I found at a thrift store that, you know, kind of just has odds and ends and stuff that's sometimes a little bit more regularly accessed. Up here you can see some little quotes that I found along the years that are just kind of little reminders of life things. I like this one a lot. This one feels very van life. The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. And that's by Hans Hofmann. A little more organizing over here. Some toiletries and bathroom accessories. And then more books because I can't seem to get rid of books ever. I really like things in print. As a photographer, as a visual person, I just really like having things I can hold in my hand. A couple other fun little tiny van, something my mom gave me when I was moving into the van. When a van was built from a factory being a Westie, it had a bar right here, and then this was a platform. And that platform allowed a second bed up top. But as much as I would like to think that I have 4 people that need to sleep over all that often, that's not really the case. So what I wanted to do was create as open of a space as possible. So we cut that bar out, cut the roof off all the way back to the back of the van, and then installed this roll bar. This was the first one that we ever did, so it has now been dubbed the Wheelie Bar. Ransom at Crooked Finger Designs has installed a few of these now in order to open up a Vanagon to have all of this headspace while still maintaining the structural stability of the van itself. And the other great thing is it allows you to like kind of mount stuff up to that area. Having things have a place is very important. Last cool thing is it has allowed me to put my little hangboard up there and, you know, get my workout on in the morning, you know, no big deal. I suppose the next big thing will be to show you how the bed itself works. To go from couch mode, which is what it's in currently, into bed mode, what I did was I made these slats, so it's slatted all the way back to the back of the van, and these pieces come together like this when it's put away, and then as you expand out, it doubles the size of the bed effectively. And then the bed just, or the mattress just slides out like that, and poof, bed. Now, honestly, taking it out is a little easier than putting it away. It's kind of a little bit of a get it in there and give it a little heave-ho to get the mattress to start going back in its natural position or in its couch position. But ta-da, that's it. It goes from bed to couch and back to bed pretty easily. Part of the reason this table is here is because this is the main support of this corner of the bed. Over here, you might not quite be able to see it, but there's also another support that holds this edge of the bed. That's what holds the end of this out and does its support from there. Now underneath here, we've got more storage hiding in the back of the couch. This is where all my clothing lives. Spin this around, there's more storage under the bench seat. Like I said, the name of the game with Ruby has been maximizing where things go and how things work together. So in here there's a heater, a little bit of extra cooking supplies that I don't use all that often, and then all sorts of other stuff, climbing stuff, some running gear, just random stuff. The interesting thing is the challenges that exist now differ a bit from the challenges that existed when I started. Access to Wi-Fi now, or at least for the last 2 years, has been weird. You know, we've had COVID, so coffee shops haven't been as open, and there hasn't been as many like communal living spaces because people are a little bit more like, give me a little more space. And that was kind of a big shift for me. Part of I say that I moved into the van to spend time outside. I also moved into the van to be able to spend time with people that I cared about that lived in different places. So I had my Seattle family, I have my Portland family, I have my Bend community, I have my Salt Lake family, I have my Southern California family. And the idea of being able to live in those places for a period of the year and spend time with those people that I care about was very important to me. So through COVID, not being able to really jump from group to group, that was a bigger challenge on me than I had foreseen when I was doing this in years prior. There's the obvious logistical problems of I'm a photographer, so I have to deliver photos to clients, and making sure you have consistent Wi-Fi to be able to deliver a large batch of photos, can be challenging. But part of living in a small space or living intentionally in a tiny home, it's not about what you can do self-sufficiently. It's as much about what you can do with your community. So I've always found a lot of the challenges to be overcome through building the community of people that I spend time around and being able to ask for help when I need help. Hey, can I come over and get a shower? Hey, can I come over and use your Wi-Fi for the night? Can I leave my computer set up so that it transfers all these files while I'm sleeping in the van? The cool thing about having the van is you kind of turn into a neighbor versus a house guest. So it allows you to be in a place and have that relationship with whomever you're visiting as someone that isn't relying on them so much as you're getting to live in the same town as them for a period of time, which I think is like a nice mind shift of what could be considered a challenge. Moving on to the outside, she's got a 2-inch lift, bigger wheels and tires than come stock with Vanagons. She's got this rad rear bumper swing away system. My favorite part of it are the 2 bottle openers, one for me, one for a friend. The stock backup lights on Vanagons leaves a little to be desired, so threw in some LED backup lights. This storage box I keep mainly, extra tools and fluids and random stuff that I don't need to get to all that often, but are good to carry with you and maybe a little bit more messy than you want to keep inside your rig. Jerry can, a little bit of extra gas, never hurt anybody. Vanagons don't have the longest range because they've got a fairly small gas tank, so having a little bit of extra opportunity there is great. Moving over here, spare tire, garbage bag. I keep a tow rope in here because I'm always towing people out, everybody getting stuck. It's for me because I get stuck. Yeah, big bumpers, all that jazz. Up here you can see the antenna. This is for a CB radio. When we go down to Baja, it's great to be able to quickly chat with the other people in your party when you don't have cell phone signal. Up top we've got 100 watts of solar, and that's charging a 100 amp hour lithium battery inside. I ski a lot, so I added these ski mounts to the outside of the van because when you're coming down from the mountain and your skis are covered in snow, it kind of sucks to put them on the bed because then your bed's covered in snow. So skis on the outside until they dry off. And then they live inside, which I can show you. So these guys swing out, move out of the way for when I open the rear hatch. And there's, again, more storage that kind of lives under and beside the bed that's accessed from back here. More ski stuff, camping gear, some chairs, tables, all that stuff. This runs all the way up to where you saw the back end of the kitchen setup. So I can fit my very long skis in here. And they're extra safe because they're very far away from anywhere anybody could get into. Up front, we've got a couple mods to the traditional Vanagon. Again, a nice big steel bumper. Replaced the stock grille in headlights with this LED setup, going from the old style headlights to the LEDs. I can't say how much of a difference that makes. And then on top of that, I also added these off-road LEDs, which kind of mimic this style of Vanagon grill called the South African grill that I think is really rad. The dual pod round headlights I think is a look that I really enjoy. And they definitely throw a significant amount of light when you're going down dirt roads in Baja in middle of the night. When I bought Ruby, I bought her from my tattoo artist up in Portland in 2014. And she was named Ruby when he got her, so he kept the name. I was sitting there getting tattooed, and we were talking about vans and van names and kind of the legacy there. And I was talking about my buddy had a sailboat, and it's got a cool monogrammed gold flake name on the back of the boat, right? And I was like, it'd be cool if Vans did that. They had this like cool monogrammed name on them. And so we decided I was going to buy Ruby, and I show up to pick up the van, and he had done this painting on the front. He's a trained sign painter. He did this Ruby on the front as kind of an homage to that conversation we had. And then down in Baja a few years ago, found this little puffer fish. Needed a hood ornament, so the puffer has come with me ever since. One other kind of cool mod that I think people don't necessarily think about is big truck mirrors. Because I keep the back all curtained and cushioned off, I don't use my rear view mirror at all. So having these burly, wide truck mirrors is a must-have in my opinion. Obviously, slower than fast sticker. If you drive a Vanagon, you need to have a slower than fast sticker. Thank you for joining me on this tour. It's been a pleasure to give you a little rundown of daily life here in Ruby. And if you want to follow along with future adventures, at Where to Willie on all the social medias, and appreciate you being here. Catch y'all on the flip side.